In today's lecture, we are going to discuss the financial instrument. In fact, this is going to be the final financial instrument tutorial. So there we have three questions left from the last week, and first we'll be looking at them. And also today I have uploaded one question, as I promised, that is on the impairment of financial asset. So having discussed that, and that is going to be the end of the discussion on financial instruments. So we take a lot more time, but I believe still it's worth, because it's going to be a kind of a important area that you'll be tested, and also it is having a significant practical importance. So considering that, so I have dedicated plenty of tutorial on this, right? So let's look at the question number 3 first. So in the last class, basically we discussed about accounting for derivatives as well as accounting for cash flow hedge. So that was our last question. Now let's see what we have today, starting from question number 3. So here I have taken a question that is similar to what you have learned in your lecture. We'll see. The Deluxe PLC has purchased 500,000 shares of Alpha PLC on 1st of March 2020, which are measured at fair value through profit or loss. You have purchased 500,000 shares of Alpha, and that was on 1st of March 2020. The current price of shares is rupees 50. You have purchased them at rupees 50 each. The Deluxe PLC wishes to hedge the risk of adverse fluctuation in the share prices and purchased 100 future contract. So in order to uh, hedge against the adverse movement in the share price of Alpha PLC, what you thought of? You thought of getting into a futures contract. So it was a kind of, when it comes to futures contract, so it's a kind of a standard contract. So it comes in a standard size, right? It comes in a standard size. Here, you are taking 100 futures contract. Each contract include 5,000 shares of Alpha PLC, right? The contract where they took, where they took a sell position. So there, what you have taken a sell position. So for a fixed price, you can sell them in the future. The Deluxe PLC intend to sell these shares in 3 months' time. In the sense, the shares what you have bought, the shares of Alpha, you expect to sell them in 3 months' time. The price of Beta's future is rupees 52 per share. As of 31st March 2020, right at the point of purchasing this futures contract, it was given rupees 52 per share. As of 31st March 2020, the fair value of shares of Alpha PLC stood at rupees 45. So at the reporting date, you are given the fair value of shares of Alpha, and it was 45, and the futures price stood at 42. Okay. On 1st of July 2020, the price of Alpha shares has further reduced to 40. So the price of the Alpha PLCs has dropped to 40, and the futures price to 38. Okay. So you have given the share prices and the futures prices on 3 important dates. That is on 1st of March 2020, then on 31st March 2020, and finally 1st of July, 1st of June 2020. So these are the 3 important dates, and you are given the share price and also the futures price as well. So if the things as such, the requirement, identify the hedge item and hedge instrument. So you've been asked to come up with the hedge item and hedge instrument. And also you need to account for this on the initial recognition, the measurement at initial recognition, then on 31st March 2020, that is the reporting date, as well as on 1st of June 2020, in the sense at the maturity. So where you expect to sell in 3 months time, it was said that, so therefore you may be selling these shares on that particular date. Right. Okay, things as such. So would like to invite you to attend this because we have discussed something similar to this in case of the lecture. So therefore you can simply try that. So I can allow you like 10 minutes time. Yeah, 10 minutes time and try that out. And thereafter we'll see how to work the things out. Just give it a little try, taking some time. So you can indicate your answers on the chat. Yeah. So at least read the question and be familiar with that. And thereafter we can see. Okay, so hope you are done with the first part. So how about the first part? So what is the hedged item? Yes. So hedged item can be a recognized asset, liability, or highly probable transaction, or unrecognized firm commitment. So which may expose you to the risk. Yeah. So what is that? What will expose to the risk in this particular transaction? Just would like to see your answer. Yeah. What is a hedged item? So in fact, we discussed this. Yeah. What will expose you to the risk? Yes. Good. Let's see. Is that futures contract? Okay. Appreciate your attempt. No, I'm not asking the hedge instrument. Hedge item. Hedge item is what exposes you to the risk. The hedge instrument is the what you call the instrument that you are looking for to mitigate that particular risk, right? So it should be the other way around. Yes. So it's going to be the shares of Alpha PLC. Very correct. So therefore, the first one you can say that it's going to be the shares of Alpha PLC. So if you take the first one, the hedged item, so it is the as let's say simply asset or liability, what exposes you to the risk. So what exposes you to the risk? That is nothing but the shares of Alpha PLC. Alpha PLC. Then how you are going to mitigate that risk? So what is your defense against this, or what? How you are going to mitigate that? That is what the hedge instrument. Hedge instrument. So as you have mentioned, so in order to mitigate this risk, so you have taken a sell position in the futures contract. So it's about the futures contract. Futures contract, and you're taking a sell position. Sell position. So that's what uh, helps you to mitigate the risk. The adverse movement in the share prices of Alpha can be mitigated through the futures contract, where you have taken a sell position. And what kind of a hedge is that? If you look at this hedge, what is that? Is it something to do with the cash flows, or is it something that you're worrying about the fair value? So is it the fair value that you're worrying about, or is it the cash flow? So depending on that, it will decide what is the hedge is going to be. What kind of hedge is that? Is it about the fair value drop that you are worrying about, or is it the cash flow that you are worrying about? තර මොකක්ද පුතාලා මෙතන අපි worry වෙන කාරණාව? fair value එකේ drop වීමක්ද? එහෙම නැත්නම් cash flow එකක් සම්බන්ධ adverse cash flow එකක් සම්බන්ධ worry එකක්ද? What is your worry? So depending on that, it will decide what is your hedge. So it's a kind of a fair value hedge. The question says that you can see, if you read down here, the Deluxe PLC wishes to hedge the risk of adverse fluctuation in the share prices. So you're worrying about the fair value. The adverse movement in the share prices is what you're worrying about. Hence, it's a fair value hedge. If the hedge is the fair value, then you know the movement or the gains or losses relating to the hedged item and relating to the hedge instrument, you should recognize them in P&L. And also the hedged item would also be recognizing most of the time it's P&L. තොරක් දන්නවා hedge item එකත් hedge instrument එකත් hedge instrument එකක් P&L එක recognize කරන්නේ ඒ වගේම hedge item එකත් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපි P&L එකේ recognize කරන්න වෙනවා. So if you account for this on the very first day that you enter into this share transaction, so if I just put an account for your investment, it's simple investment in shares. It's investment in shares of Alpha PLC. So you are purchasing, it's about cash. You purchase figure sign 500,000 shares. You're purchasing 500,000 shares at rupees 50 each. So initially you recognize your investment at 25,000. So then on 1st of March 2020, so you can take financial asset at fair value through profit or loss. So debit 25,000 and you can credit the cash or bank, whatever the mode of payment, and that is 25,000. This is about the initial recognition. Then you know when it comes to a derivative, so here the futures contract, it's a derivative. So at the initial recognition, the value of the contractual right is equal to the value of the contractual obligation. So hence you are having no value for the futures contract on the initial recognition. Now you come to 31st March 2020, the reporting date. So you need to remeasure that. The investment initially, the balance carried forward, remeasure it, and that's going to be how much? There the price has dropped to 45 and 500 shares. It's 45 into 500 shares, 22,500. So you can see that there's a remeasurement loss. It's 25,000, sorry, it's 25,000, it's 25,000. So it's 2,500 drop. So charge that to the loss because it's a financial asset at fair value through profit or loss. So you may recognize the loss. So it's going to be the P&L, which gets debit, and that is going to be 2,500, and it gets credit to the investment or the financial asset at fair value through profit or loss. It gets credit. Right. So it's about the remeasurement. Then on this date, so you can even mention this remeasurement of hedged item, right? Hedged item. Now how about the hedge instrument? So in that you can see it was 100 futures contract, it's 5,000 shares, so therefore it perfectly become 500,000 shares, and you take a sell position, you intend to sell them at 52, you can sell them at 52. On 31st March 2020, the futures price was 42. So, but still, since you have locked the transaction, you can sell them at 52. So you can sell them at 52, where you can buy them at 42. So hence, you can see that it gives you a kind of a gain. The gain on futures contract. Gain on futures contract. You can sell them at 52, where in the market it stood at 42. So therefore, per share, the gain is 10. So there you have 500,000 shares. So it is 5,000 gain. And this is the credit, and it's the futures contract asset. It's an asset. Futures contract debit, in the sense it's asset 5,000. So it's about the remeasurement of hedge instrument. So when you come to a kind of a fair value hedge, the gains and losses typically goes to the P&L. The gains and losses typically goes to P&L. එතකොට අපි දන්නවා fair value hedge එක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් hedge instrument එකේ gains and losses යන්න ඕනේ P&L එකට. එතකොට අපි දන්නවා hedge item එකත් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට P&L එකට යනවා. ඒ වගේ ඒ අනුරූපීව අපේ hedge instrument එකත් ඒකට matching එකක් වෙන්න, right, to match that the gains and losses will go to the P&L. නමුත් අපි හිතමු අපේ instrument එක නැත්නම් hedge item එක අපි හිතමු measured at financial asset at fair value through other comprehensive income. So එතනද අපි දන්නවා remeasurement gains and losses යන්නේ OCI වලට. So gains and losses OCI වලට යනවා නම් අපි hedge instrument එකත් එතනදී අරගෙන යන්නේ OCI එකට. But in general it goes to the P&L. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඒක P&L එකට යන්නේ. නමුත් අර වගේ OCI instrument එකක් නම් financial asset at fair value through OCI නම් hedge item goes to the OCI. So in line with that, the hedge instrument would also move on to that. මේකෙන් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Right. Okay. Now let's come to the maturity. So how about maturity? So here we start the period, the next year. The balance brought forward. Now 1 month has gone. So we expect to sell them in 3 months time. මාස 3කින් විකුණන්න හිතනවා. එතකොට මාස 3 වෙන්නේ 6.1 market එකේ මේ share එක further drop වෙලා තියෙනවා to 40. So you sell them at cash and it is 40 per share. It's 500. So it's going to be 20,000. So you can see there it creates a loss, and that is 2,500 loss. So you can see there's a further loss, P&L, $2,500, and you receive cash 20,000, and that also takes to the financial asset at fair value through. Right, this is it. So it's about this is the loss on disposal, to recognize the loss on disposal of shares dispose කිරීමේ loss එක. මෙතන the cash proceeds from disposal of shares. shares dispose කිරීමෙන් අපිට හම්බෙච්ච මුදල්. Okay. හරි. එතකොට අපි ඒක ගත්තා. Then what about the futures contract? So on this day, the futures contract, you can see that the futures price is stood at how much? 38. The futures price was 38 at that day. So therefore, if you look at the entire gain, so you can still sell them at 50, but you need to take it at 38 from the market. Hence, it's going to be a gain of 12 per share into 500,000 shares. It's a total gain of 6,000. But so far, you have managed to recognize 5,000 gain. So therefore, all what you have to recognize the additional one. So if I'm just to mention the date, so you can see that first initially it was 1st of March 2020. What was your contractual right? Contractual liability. So the contractual right was 500 shares at 52. I think so, no? Yeah, it's 52. So contractual liability would also the same, 500 into 20, sorry, 52. So therefore, net position 0, nothing is there. So then on the next date, the remeasurement date, that was 31st March 2020. What was their contractual right? Still you can sell them at 52,500 shares. But the contractual liability, it was about 42. It's 42 into 500,000 shares. So there you can see your right is greater than the liability, hence it creates your gain, right? It's a gain of 5,000. You can take the gain, also the cumulative gain as well, gain and cumulative gain. So here 0 and here it's 5,000. Then you come to the maturity, it's 1st of June 2020. So still your contractual right, you can sell them at 52,500. But in the market, it was 38 into 500. So you can see the cumulative gain is 6,000. So in the sense, it suggests then your gain is 1,000. So you can see the gain just by comparing these two. Yeah. Or is that 2,000 or something? 26, 19, yeah, it's 7,000, sorry, yeah. It's 2,000, no? Yeah, it's 2,000. So comparing the contractual liability, you can see the gain, but comparing contractual right and contractual liability at any point in time, you would see the cumulative gain. So the contractual right එකයි contractual liability එකයි අපි compare කරන සෑම අවස්ථාවකම අපිට පේන්නේ cumulative gain එක. Cumulative gain එක, right? So ඒක base කරලා අපි gain එක ගන්න ඕනේ. එමුනම් අපිට futures contract එකේ අපි තියනවා gain එක from the remeasurement. It's 2,000. Gain on futures contract 2,000. So අපිට පේන අවසාන වශයෙන් මේ asset එකේ වටිනාකම තියෙනවා කීයක්ද? 5,000, 2,000, 7,000. So ඒ 7,000 අපිට මුදලින් හම්බ වෙනවා. Now we are going to realize whatever the futures contract, the asset. You receive 7,000 over there, and here you credit the futures contract. This contract asset will be recognized, that is 7,000. Maturity of futures contract. So hence, what you have done eventually, you can see that you have secured 20,000 from the ultimate disposal. So අපිට 20,000ක් තමයි හම්බුනේ අවසාන disposal එකෙන්. නමුත් මෙතන දැන් අපිට 7,000ක් හම්බ වෙනවා. ඒතර ඒ අනුව අපිට අවසාන වශයෙන් 27,000ක් ලැබෙනවා. contract එක වෙනුවෙන් 27,000ක් අපිට ලැබෙනවා. ඒක තමයි අපේ ගනුදෙනුවේ අවසාන ප්‍රතිඵලය. ඒතර මේ contract එක තිබුණ නැත්නම් අපිට තියෙන තිබ්බා 20,000යි හම්බෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ loss එක වෙන තිබ්බා 25,000ට ගත්ත දේ අවසාන වශයෙන් අපි 20,000කට විකුණුවා. ඒ අනුව loss එකක් 5,000 වෙන්න තිබුණා. නමුත් මේ contract එක නිසා අපි දැන් පේන අවසාන වශයෙන් අපි in a better position, we have ended up making 27,000. So අපි instrument එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම cover කරගෙන ඒකට profit එකකුත් 2 million profit එකකුත් make කරලා තියෙනවා. So therefore it's basically to protect you against the adverse movement. So sometimes it may result in slight gains and slight losses, but here it's a kind of a slight gain that it has resulted in. So that is how we account for the kind of a futures contract. So they will futures contract account කරන්නේ. Right. So if you have any question, yes, now it is the time to get them clarified. Without ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් දැන් ඒක අහන්න අපි ඒක clarify කරගෙන ඉස්සරහට යමු. So something similar to this, exactly similar to this, have been discussed in your lecture as well. Lecture එකේ මේ වගේම question එකක් discuss කරලා තිබුණා. So in line with that, I had taken this question. The සමස්ත ගේම් එක අපිට පේනවා ඒ 2000 ගේම් එක කොහොමද රිසල්ට් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා. දැන් මෙතන 2023 එකෙන් අවසන් වර්ෂයේ ඉන්ස්ට්‍රුමන්ට් එකකින් hedge item එකකින් loss එකක් ආවා. හැබැයි futures contract එකකින් hedge instrument එකකින් gain එකක් ආවා. යන ශුද්ධ ප්‍රතිඵලය මෙතන අපිට 2500ක gain එකක් තිබුණානේ. එතන gain එකක් තමයි අවසාන වශයෙන් P&L එකට hit උනේ. ඊපස්සේ ඊළඟ පීරියඩ් එකේ අපි බැලුවොත් 6 එකකින් අවසන් පීරියඩ් එකේ loss එකක් තිබ්බ 2500ක ඉන්ස්ට්‍රුමන්ට් එකකින්. හැබැයි gain එකක් ආව futures contract එකකින්. ඒ අනුව අවසාන වශයෙන් එතන අපිට loss එකක් තිබ්බා net basis එකේ 500ක. ඒතර සමස්ත ගණන් සලකා බැලුවොත් අපිට පේනවා 2500 gain එකක් මෙතන 500ක loss එකක්. ඒ අනුව 2000ක gain එකක් තියෙනවා. right? ඒතර ඒක තමයි ඇත්තටම අවසාන වශයෙන් result වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. අපි මේ 25000ට ගත්ත ඉන්ස්ට්‍රුමන්ට් එක මෙතන 20000ක් හම්බුණා විකුණලා මෙතන කෑෂ් 7000ක් හම්බුණා. යනවා අපිට 27000ක් හම්බුණා. ඒ අනුව 2000ක සමස්ත ගේන් එකක් සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා. right? ඒතර ඒක සිස්ටමැටික් විදියට account වෙනවා අපි අර procedure එක follow කරලා ඒ account කරපුවාම. right? So systematically we have ended up recognizing 2000 gain. So from the entire transaction. Okay, so hope you're fine with that. Okay, so we may try out one more question on this again on this. So it's comparatively easy one. Let's look at that. The Goldblum, what is that? It's Goldblum Limited is a gold producer that has an inventory of gold. It wishes to hedge against potential adverse change in the market price of gold. Okay. On 1st of July 2020, the let me say G, right? G Limited enters into a forward contract which is indexed to move with the market price of gold. The gold contract matures on 31st June 2020. Okay, you're worrying about the adverse movement in the market prices of gold, so therefore you are thinking about a forward contract indexed to move with the market price of gold. The gold contract matures on 30th June 2020. There's no requirement to make any upfront payment on the contract. The hedging instrument is deemed to be effective in protecting the entity from adverse movement in the price of gold. For the 6 months to 31st December 2020, the fair value of the forward contract has increased by 120,000. So you can see that the forward contract has increased by 31st December 2020 at the point of remeasurement. There it has a kind of a gain. Whereas the fair value of the G Limited's inventory of gold has decreased by 120,000. By the same amount, the inventory value has dropped. Then in the 6 months to 30th June 2021, the fair value of the forward contract has increased by 52,000, whereas the fair value of the Goldblum Limited's inventory of gold has decreased by 55,000. So if the things are such, identify the hedge item and hedge instrument and account for this initially. And reporting date, it must be 31st December. That's why we may be remeasuring that. And then at the maturity. Okay, now you're quite familiar and it's quite easy. So I would like you to give it a try. So put an attempt. It can take 5 to 10 minutes here and give it a try. Yes, so we may look at that. So first, what is the hedged item and hedge instrument? So what is the asset or liability? So keeping it simply, that exposes you to the adverse or the risk. What is that? So this time, so like you identified in the previous case, what is your hedged item? So let's look at. So it's going to be the inventory of gold. Yes. So that is what exposes you, right, to the adverse movement in the market price. So therefore, it's about the inventory of gold. It's inventory of gold. You may be having a certain inventory. The inventory of gold is what exposes you to the risk. Then how you are going to protect yourself? How you are going to protect against this adverse movement, or how you are going to mitigate your risk? So with the help of what? So as per the question, so you are going to mitigate that risk with a forward contract. Yes, very correct. It's your forward contract. Forward contract. Then what kind of a hedge is that? So is it a cash flow that you are worrying about, or is it the fair value of the asset or liability that it involves? Is it, or I would say that the fair value of the hedged item, or is it the cash flow of the hedged item? Putting it simply. Yes, very correct. Sorry, thank you. It's fair value. It's fair value hedge. Perfect. Then if the things are such, now it's time to account for that. So on initial point, no. So no recognition on 1st of, no measurement is required on 1st of July 2020 because it's a kind of existing inventory. So you need not to account for the hedged item, and as well as for the hedge instrument, you know, at the initial point, the contractual right is equal to contractual liability. So it's, I think, 150,000 or something. No, it's not even given. So no point of accounting for that. So it's 0. No value is over there. So therefore, no accounting to be taken place on 1st of July 2020. But how about 31st December 2020? So at the reporting date. So you need to remeasure your hedged item and also the hedge instrument, right? So here you may find that it is strange because when it comes to this inventory usually we measure at the lower of cost and the net realizable value. But remember, when it comes to a kind of a hedging relationship, if you designate a particular asset as a kind of a hedged item, then that is not the normal accounting which is applicable, but that is the hedge accounting. So as per the hedge accounting, so you need to measure this asset at fair value. So the underlying asset, the liability needs to be measured at fair value, meaning this inventory should be measured at fair value. So otherwise you might find it strange why we are measuring this inventory at fair value. So therefore you can even claim that the hedge accounting is going to distort the normal accounting practices. So usually we account for the inventory at the lower of cost and the net realizable value, whichever is lower. But here, since you are applying the hedge accounting, you need to measure your inventory at its fair value, right? So you can see. So here it says that the fair value of the gold limited inventory of gold has decreased by 120,000, whereas the forward contract has increased by the same amount. So there is a perfect set off. You start accounting for the inventory. So the inventory drops. So it creates a loss. So it's P&L, loss on inventory. So inventory වල අපිට loss එකක් තියෙනවා දාලා 1,20,000ක loss එකක් තියෙනවා, and that is going to be gets credit, that's going to get credit to the inventory. So අපි ඒක inventory වලට credit කරනවා, right? Remeasurement of the hedged. It's remeasurement of hedged item. Hedged item එක ඔන්න අපි remeasure කරා. ඊට පස්සේ what about the underlying, sorry, what about the hedge instrument? So it gives you a perfect match. It's a forward contract asset. It creates a forward contract asset and it gets debit, and that is 120,000. It's 120,000, and that is the gain what you would take to the P&L. It's a perfect matching. Right, it's about the remeasurement of hedged instrument. It's remeasurement of hedged instrument. Right, okay. So we are done with that. Then what is next? So it's about the maturity. So it matures, the contract matures on 1st of July 30th June 2021. So at the point of maturity, so you are going to measure the inventory. It has further dropped, or is that fair value of the inventory of gold has dropped by 55,000. Yes, it's a further drop. So it creates a loss to you. So it's P&L. It's 55,000, and inventory is getting 55,000. Then but you have the forward contract. So the forward contract had exposed you to a kind of a gain, I think. Forward contract has increased by 52,000. So you can take that forward contract, it's 52,000, and it is 52,000. Now at the maturity, you can see you would receive the forward contract. It is 52,000 and 120,000 altogether. We can get, when we receive the cash, 172,000, and it gets credit, the 72,000. That is the forward contract. So however, here we cannot look at the sale of the inventory. So like in the case of shares, because here it was not given. The information on the sale of inventory is not given. පුතාලා අපි අර කලින් question එකේ වගේ බලා ගන්න බෑ sell කිරීමක් inventory එක. මොකද inventory එක විකුණන information මොකුත් අපිට දීලා නැහැ. inventory එක විකුණන තොරතුරු මොකුත් අපිට දීලා නැති නිසා අපිට ඒක බලා ගන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? So forward contract එක විතරක් අපි maturity කරනවා. නමුත් අපිට inventory වල maturity එකක් බලා ගන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? Maturity of forward contract. ඒක අපි 1,72,000කට 120,50 170 172කට අපිට ඒක රියලයිස් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් අපිට ඉන්ෆර්මේෂන් දීලා නැහැ inventory විකුණන value. inventory movement එක විතරයි දීලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් question එකකින් අපි expect කරේ මෙන්න මේ කියන movements ටික බලා ගන්න. මොකද මම එක step එකක් ගිහිල්ලා ඔයාලට maturity එකක් ගත්තා. නමුත් ඒක අපිට කරන්න බෑ inventory වලට. Right? So the accounting is more or less the same. The hedged item, hedged instrument, everything was taken to the P&L. So it's about the hedge accounting. It's about, in fact, the fair value hedge. Now moving on to the one last question. and that is what we call the question number 5. I thought of taking you through a kind of a swap transaction. So I think that you might not have worked out a question on this swap, but I thought of taking you through a swap as well. But I know that you have discussed what you mean by this swap in the lecture. So now we are going to have a kind of a experience on how to account for a swap transaction. So how to account for a kind of a swap transaction. Okay, so let's look at the question first. On 1st of April 2020, the Byron Limited, a Sri Lankan company, borrows US dollars 2 million at a rate of 9% from a US corporation, repayable in US dollars. The Sri Lankan entity has borrowed US dollars 2 million from a US bank, and it's repayable in US dollars. The loan is for a period of 3 years. Okay, and the Byron Limited trades predominantly within Australia. So you are doing your business activities predominantly in Australia, but somehow you have managed to make a loan from USA. At the same time, the Vetago, let me say W Limited, also a Sri Lankan company, borrows Sri Lankan rupees 360 million from a Sri Lankan bank, also at a fixed rate of 9%. එතකොට අපි තව entity එකක් තියෙනවා W Limited කියලා. එයා අරන් තියෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකාවෙන් loan එකක් මිලියන 360ක. ඒ දවසේම 109 fixed rate එකකට. And also for a period of 3 years. අවුරුදු 3කට. The W Limited also has number of receivable denominated in US dollars. නමුත් මේ W Limited ගාව තියෙනවා receivables වගේක් denominated in US dollars, suggesting they may be predominantly doing transaction within USA. As a result of perceived benefit to both parties, the Byron Limited and W Limited decided to enter a swap contract in which they effectively swap their interest and principal obligation on the same day they take out the loans. That is 1st of April 2020. So අපිට පේනවා එකම දවසේ තමයි loans අරන් තියෙන්නේ, එකම rate එකක් යන්නේ, සහ අපි US dollars 2 million convert කරලා බැලුවොත් එතකොට US dollar එක rate එක 2024 180. එතකොට 180 2 million වලින් multiply කරා කියන්නේ 360 million. එතකොට loan amounts එකත් equal. Loan amount එකත් equal, interest rate එකත් equal, සහ repayable period එකත් equal. එතකොට මේ වගේ තත්ත්වයක මේ B limited සහ W limited negotiate කරනවා අපි let's enter into a swap contract, right? එතකොට swap contract එකට enter වුණා මොකක්ද සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ? So they are entering that for the interest commitment and for the principal commitment. So therefore, at the end of the day, the B limited is responsible for paying, right? For paying the interest for this Sri Lankan rupee loan, and at the same time, the W Limited would effectively become responsible for paying the interest for this US dollar 2 million. එතකොට මේ contract එකකින් effectively සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ මොකක්ද? B Limited Sri Lankan rupee currency තියෙන loan එකට interest එක ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේම W Limited US dollar 2 million තියෙන loan එකේ interest එක ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. ඒක තමයි swap එක. හැබැයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේවා අපි account කරන්නේ ඒ අදාළ entity එක තමන්ගේ අදාළ loan එක ගෙවාගෙන යනවා. Only the difference in the interest and the principal තමයි අපි swap asset එකක් swap liability එකක් කරා set off කරන්නේ. Right? නමුත් ඒක තමයි effective liability එක. So the B Limited become responsible for the local currency denominated loan, and also at the same time the W Limited become responsible for the US dollar denominated loan. So that's how it goes. Then you are given the rate at 1st of April 2020, 31st March 2021, 31st March 2022, and finally 31st March 2023. Then it asks, in relation to the Byron Limited, identify the hedge item and hedge instrument. And also account for this initially at the reporting date and also in the next two reporting periods. And here the loan is structured as that you may be settling the loans at the maturity. So until that you may be paying the interest. මේ loan negotiate කරගෙන තියෙන විදිහට loan එක ඉවර වෙනකන් අපි interest එක pay කරගෙන යන්නේ maturity එකේ අවුරුදු 3කට පස්සේ තමයි principal amount එක pay කරන්නේ. right? මොකද මෙතන loan installment එකක් ගැන මුකුත්ම සඳහනක් නැහැ. එහෙනම් අපි ඒ loan එක pay කරන්නේ මේ විදිහට. So like in the case of a debenture. So until the maturity it pays the interest, and at the maturity you are settling the outstanding. So likewise here it works in the same way, in that way. Right. So just read this question and take some time and become familiar with the question. So then we'll discuss. Right. Okay. So shall we have a look at that? Okay. So some of the important information. So if you wish, you can simply take them down. So some of the important information. So here we have the two entities. That is, one is the B Limited. The other one is the W Limited. And you can see the amounts, the loan amounts. So we can you can't see the Excel, is that? Okay. So that's screen, right? Okay. Now I think it's fine, no? Okay. So here we have. So here the loan is US dollars 2 million. Yeah. So whereas here we are having LKR 360 million. So that's about the loan. And the interest rate, if you take interest rate, it's a fixed rate, both the entities, it's 9%, and it's 9%. It's 9%, 9%. And also the maturity, if you look at the maturity, it takes place in 3 years. 3 years. And also one more important information. So it may be the respective dates and the spot rate that is given over there. Right. So now we have all the required information to work out this. And you are taking the perspective of B Limited. You are thinking about the accounts in the books of B Limited, and let us look at that. So here also it asks what is the hedge item and the hedge instrument and the hedge. So you can see that the hedge item, so it's about the loan denominated in US currency. Or simply you can say that it's 2 million loan, US dollar 2 million loan. That is the hedge item from the B Limited point of view. And what is the hedge instrument? That is the swap contract, the swap contract that you have taken. And what about the hedge? Here, what you're worrying about, it's about the cash flows, isn't it? Because it's, you want to swap the interest and the principal obligation. So hence it's effectively a cash flow hedge. So when it comes to cash flow hedge, it is said that until you recognize the hedge item, the gains and losses must be recognized in OCI. So in fact, that is how we used to do when we working out one question on cash flow. But here, when it comes to this hedge item, you are going to recognize it on the very first day. So අපි දන්නවා cash flow hedge එකක් fair value hedge එකකින් වෙනස් වෙන්නේ කොහොමද? Cash flow hedge එක අපි කියනවා hedge item එක අපි recognize කරනකම් තියෙන gains and losses hedge instrument එකට අදාළව අපි recognize කරන්නේ OCI වල කියලා. නැත්නම් cash flow hedge reserve එකේ. නමුත් මේ question එකේ අපි බැලුවොත් අපිට පේනවා hedge item එක මේ US dollar 2 million එක අපි on the very first day අපි ඒක recognize කරනවා. તો loan එක අපි ගන්නවා 2020 4 එතකොට එහෙමනම් අපි cash flow hedge එකක් වුණාට මේක effectively account වෙන්නේ fair value hedge එකක් විදිහට. ඒ කියන්නේ සියලුම gains and losses අපි P&L එකට තමයි අරගෙන යන්නේ. Right? So understand that, otherwise you will be confused. Why are we going to take the gains and losses on this hedge instrument to the P&L despite this hedge being a cash flow hedge? So here it highlights the point that, so only until you recognize the hedge item, you are allowed to recognize the gains and losses in the OCI under a cash flow hedge. But here, on the very first day, you recognize the hedge item, hence whatever the gains and losses that accrues must be recognized in the P&L itself. Right? So මෙතන cash flow hedge උනා කියලා accounting වල වෙනසක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ fair value hedge එකේ. Right? So that is also an interesting point what you need to remember. So now let's come to the accounting starting from 1st of April 2020. So you come to the contract. I think it's quite easy if you can take a kind of account and work out the things. මම හිතනවා පුතාලා ඒක අපි account එකක් අරගෙන හදනවා නම් ඒක ලේසි. ඒතර මම ඒකටත් accounts ඇත්තටම දෙකක් ගන්නවා, right? එකක් මම maintain කරන US currency වලින්, අනිත් එක maintain කරන local currency වලින්. අපි functional currency එක local, right? අපි local currency වලින් තමයි අපි account කරන්න ඕනේ. නමුත් US dollars වලින් තියෙන්නේ, right? तर මුලින්ම ගත්තොත් it's a 2 million. So this is our loan, right? It's a loan. Let me take them in US dollars. මොකද ඒක remeasurement එක පහසුයි පුතාලා, right? So it's loan in LKR. तर US dollars වලින් ගත්තොත් 2 million. කිසි ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. cash it's 2 million. නම් තව 2 million වලට පෙන්නන්න බෑනේ. අපි local currency එකෙන් තමයි account කරන්නේ. So අපි ඒක local currency එකට convert කරන්න ඕනේ. So it's going to be 2 million into 180. It's going to be 360 million. So usually we take the things in thousands. So therefore, let me take it as 2,000. सामान्य दहस संख्या वाली ने accounts करना इन सब एक दहस संख्या वाली गम, right? So it's in thousands, right? So initially you recognize your loan. So upon the receipt, you receive cash. How much? It's 360,000. So you credit your liability, and that is the loan. Loan එක ගත්තා 360,000. 360. ඊට පස්සේ මොකක්ද අපි කරන්න ඕනේ? loan එකක් අපි account කරන්නේ amortized cost එකට. ඒකට සාමාන්‍ය විදිහට අපිට accounting කරන්න වෙයි. right? එතකොට මුලින්ම අපි බලමු මොකක්ද අපේ interest expense එක. එතකොට අපේ interest expense එක අපි බැලුවොත් you know the amount outstanding at the beginning of the period, and you need to the interest expense, and that is into effective rate. So what is the rate? That is 9%. So apply 9% and take the interest. So in terms of US dollars, it's 180. And in terms of local currency, if you convert this 180, how much it's going to be? 180 into the rate at the reporting date. So කොහොමද අපි මේක convert කරන්නේ interest expense එක reporting date එකේ තියෙන amount එකේ currency එකේ, right? 195 වලින්. එහෙනම් අපි ඒක 195 වලින් multiply කරොත් ඔන්න අපේ interest expense එක එනවා 3500. මොකද අපි interest එක ගෙවන්නේ අවුරුද්දකින්, right? So මේක තමයි ඔන්න අපේ interest expense එක. interest expense එක. මම මේක ගන්නම් interest account එකකට දාලා පොඩ්ඩක් ගන්න interest account එකකට මේ 35,000. Let me create an interest account for as well. Before I do the counting, let me take it to a interest expense account. It's 35,100. අපි මේ amortized cost එක apply කරන්නේ අලුතෙන් කිසිම දෙයක් නෑ. අපි මේ ඉගෙන ගත්ත දේවල්මයි තාම යන්නේ, right? Nothing new. ඊට පස්සේ අපි දන්නවා US currency එකේ ඊළඟට අපි pay කරන්න ඕනේ interest expense එක at effective interest rate අපි calculate කරා. ඊට පස්සේ pay කරන්න ඕනේ coupon එක. And here I couldn't mention one thing because the question has not given us the effective interest rate. So therefore you have to have a kind of assumption. In fact, I could mention that though I have applied, the effective interest rate is equal to the coupon rate, right? This is your coupon rate, and take that coupon rate is equal to the effective rate. तर बताला මේ question එකේ අපිට effective rate එකක් දීලා නැහැ. එතකොට ඒ effective rate එකක් දීලා නැත්නම් අපිට effective rate එකක් වෙනම assume කරන්න බෑ. අපිට assume කරන්න වෙනවා ඒක obviously coupon rate එකට සමාන වෙනවා කියලා. So මෙතන අපි apply කරේ, you know, when it comes to the amortized cost, what you apply the effective interest rate. Sorry, I couldn't mention that earlier. Sorry, right? Okay, it's 180. Then you are going to pay the coupon. So pay the coupon for this, and it is The amount, it's 2 million. You need to pay how much? 9%. 180. So don't know 180 US dollars pay කරන්න ඕන. හරි. ඒතකොට මෙතනත් එහෙමයි තත්ත්වය. ඒතකොට ඔයා ගෙවන්න ඕන cash කීයක්ද? 180 convert කරොත් 195 වලින් ඔයා ගෙවනවා cash 35,100. ඒතකොට මේක තමයි මුදලින් ගෙවන ප්‍රමාණය. So now you come to the year end, right? දැන් මේක අපි මුදලින් ගෙවපු ප්‍රමාණය ගත්තා. දැන් අපි යමු interest එකට. ඒත් පුතාලට මතකයි මෙතන කිව්වා අපි දැන් swap agreement එකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන කියලා. right? swap contract එකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපි swap contract එකට ඒම තුල B limited effectively B limited තියෙන commitment එක තමයි මේ LKR 360 million වලට අදාළව coupon එක නැත්නම් interest එක pay කරන එක සහ maturity එකේදී principal amount එක pay කරන එක. එතකොට ඒක තමයි effectively under the swap contract ඔයාගේ liability එක වෙන්නේ. එතකොට ඒ විදිහට ඔයා බැලුවොත් ඔයා මේ 360 million වලට අදාළව කීයද ඔයා interest එක ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට ඔයාගේ නිවැරදි interest එක කීයක් වෙනවද? ඔයා ඉන්ක කරන්න ඕන 360 into effective rate it's 0.09. එතකොට ඔයාගේ effective interest එක වෙන්න ඕනේ we need to take the things in thousand. එතකොට ඔයාගේ effective interest එක වෙන්න ඕනේ 32400. මොකද ඔයාගේ commitment එක තියෙන්නේ as per the loan that you have taken with the US corporation, you have such kind of obligation. But since you have stopped this particular loan, now your ultimate liability is to pay interest for this local currency loan. So, ඒක තමයි අපි අවසාන වගකීම. So, මෙතන මොකක්ද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? අපි දැන්ටමත් interest expense එක incur කරලා තියෙනවා amount එක 35,100. හැබැයි අපේ interest එක වෙන්න ඕනේ 32,400. මම 32,400 අපේ interest එක වෙන්න ඕනේ. හැබැයි අපි 35,100ක් incur කරලා තියෙනවා. එහෙනම් මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ? අපේ මේ වැඩිමනක් තියෙන ප්‍රමාණයට අදාළව වැඩිමනක් තියෙන interest එකට අදාළව අපිට හම්බෙන්න ඕනේ cash. right? එහෙනම් 35,100 අපේ interest expense එක අපිට cash හම්බෙන්න ඕනේ difference එකට. So cash gets debit, here it gets credit, right? How much you would get? It's 35,100 minus 32,400. So that is what the cash, what you should get. But hambend on cash and a amount ticket. This by ekasiai එක 32යි 400. යන 2700ක් ඔයාට cash හම්බෙන්න ඕනේ කාගෙන්ද? W limited. එහෙම වුණොත් අන්න ඔයාගේ liability එක අවසාන වශයෙන් P&L එකට යනවා 32,400. ඒක තමයි ඔයාගේ P&L එකට යන interest expense එක වෙන්නේ. Right? So that's how we take it. So accordingly, if you have to account for the interest, and this is how it goes. So you debit the interest expense account. Interest expense account gets debit. How much? 35,100 initially. මුලින්ම 35,100. ඊට පස්සේ ඒක credit කරා loan account එක. You credit the loan. 35,100. ඊට පස්සේ as per the stop contract, it has came into play. So what it has asked us to do, so it has give us this additional payment what we have made, and that was 2,700. Take අපේ 2,700ක් අපිට හම්බුණා cash, and that has reduced your interest expense. Taking ඔයාගේ interest expense එක අඩුවීමක් වුණා. යනවා effectively මොකක්ද උනේ? ඔයාගේ interest එක maximum ඔයා incur කරන්න ඕන 360 million into 9%. ඒ කියන්නේ 32,400. ඒ amount එකට set off වීම තමයි මේ සිද්ධ වුනේ. ඊට පස්සේ US dollar වලින් pay කරා interest එක ඒක ඔයාගේ cash payment එක ඔයාට pay කරා cash වලින් how much 35,100. I'm taking out this entry. මේ entry එක මම දැන් ගන්න පුතාලා. ඒතර coupon එක pay කිරීම එක loan account එක debit වුණා කීයක්ද 35,100. ඒතර මෙන්න accounting අපි සිද්ධ කරනවා. Right? So now you come to this point, the balance carried forward. You can see that it's 2 million. It's perfectly 2 million because your coupon and the what you call the effective interest rate is equal. Hence, the loan is outstanding amount is still it's 2 million. Corona US loan එක outstanding 2 million තියෙනවා. ඒතර අපි දන්නවා මෙතන remeasurement එකක් කරන්න ඕනේ මේ amount එක. So because it's a monetary asset, monetary liability. So when you come to the monetary liability, at the reporting date, you need to remeasure that balance carried forward. How much that remeasurement? It's 2 million loan into 195. 195. So 390,000. 390,000. So if you look at now, what is that? It's 425,000. 425,000. You can see that there's a difference comes over there, and that is going to be your foreign exchange loss. Right? It's a loss. What you should charge to the PNL. It's a remeasurement loss. So අපිට පේනවන්න remeasurement loss එකකුත් මෙතන තියෙනවා. Exchange rate එකේ movement එකත් එක්ක remeasurement loss. So you take that to the PNL. It gets debit. It gets debit. How much? 30,000. මේක අපි සාමාන්‍ය accounting තල් දන්න loan එකක් තියෙනවා අපි ඒක remeasure කරන්න ඕනේ. Monetary liability එකක් නම්. So we did that, and that is loan. Loan gets credit. So this is about the remeasurement of loan at the reporting date. මෙතන මොකක්ද අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලා කරේ මේ interest expense no? This is to recognize interest expense. Recognize interest expense on what? This interest expense on the loan. And this is the result. As a result of the swap contract, you have received the compensation for the additional interest being paid. Compensation for the additional interest. Interest being paid. Additional interest incurred, no? වැඩිපුර දරපු interest expense එක වෙනුවෙන් තමයි අපිට හම්බෙච්ච set off එක. මෙතන තියෙනවා payment of interest. Payment of coupon එක pay කිරීම. Right? මෙන්න අපි ගාව ඒ account එක තිබ්බා මේක තමයි to recognize the loan. අපි පොඩි narrative එකකුත් දුන්නා. Right. ඊට පස්සේ අපි එනවා දැන් අන්න swap agreement එකට. ඒතර swap agreement එකේ පුතාලා දන්නවා මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ? සෑම අපි initially ඉඳලා අපි දන්නවා it's a matter of contractual right and contractual liability. So initially අපි enter උනේ 1st of April 2020. 1st of April 2020 contractual right එක සහ contractual liability එක සමානයි. එතකොට loan එක 2 million අපි convert කරපුවම 360 million වුණා. Contractual right එක and contractual liability එකත් 360 million. ඊට පස්සේ අපි එනවා reporting date එකට. 31st March 2020. Is that 2020, 2021? 31st March 2021. අවුරුද්දකට පස්සේ. ඒතකොට initial point එකේ පුතාලට පේනවා කිසිම gain එකක් loss එකක් නැහැ. As usual, for this derivative at the initial point, no gain or loss. But at the reporting date, what is your contractual liability? You're still obliged to settle this outstanding amount. තාමත් වකීමට බැඳිලා ඉන්නේ local currency loan එක ගෙවන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ අර 360,000 තමයි ඔයා ගෙවන්නේ. නමුත් ඔයාගේ what is the contractual right? So that is the fair value of the loan. The loan එක
assignment ගොඩක් තියෙනවා තාමද?
someone has
මේ
switched
ගෙදර
on.
දුවගෙන ආව ඒව කරන්නේ.
Mahesh, can you please switch off the mic? Yeah. Okay. So it's about the contractual right. So it's about the contractual right. So when it comes to the contractual right, you need to look at what is the value of your US currency loan. US currency loan එකේ value එක කීයද කියලා බලන්න ඕනේ reporting date එකට. Reporting date එකට අපි අතරම ඉස්සෙල්ලා measure කරා, remeasure කරා. ඒක 2 million US dollars loan එකක් 195යි. ඒ කියන්නේ 390,000. හැබැයි අපි ගෙවන්න බැඳිලා ඉන්නේ 3,60,000යි. මොකක්ද? swap contract එක නිසා. But this is the contractual right. It's 390 and it's 360. Hence, there's a gain of 30,000. එතකොට මේ swap එකේ ප්‍රතිඵලයක් විදිහට gain එකක් තියෙනවා. ලක්ෂ 30,000. Q meter Q gain. Right? එහෙනම් දැන් අපි account කරමු ඒ swap gain එක. So it goes to the P&L. Gain on swap. Gain on it gets credit. ඒක credit වෙන්න ඕනේ 30,000ක්. ඒක debit වෙන්න ඕනේ swap contract එකට. ඒතර මේක තමයි ඔන්න swap contract එකේ impact එක. swap contract. ඒක විතරක් නෙමෙයි ඇත්තටම ඔයාලට මතක ඇති interest එකේ compensation එකත් ඒකේ impact එකක්. So these are the effects of the swap contract, right? So it's about the gain on remeasurement of hedged instrument. Hedge instrument එක remeasurement එකක් තමයි අර කලින් අවස්ථාවල වගේම. So you need to look at what is the fair value of your loan, the contractual right, and what is the contractual liability that you would have. So this is accounting for 2021. So if I continue this for another year, තවද අපි මේක continue කරලා බලමු පුතාලා 31යි 3යි 2021. Right? then අපි එතන account කරමු. sorry 31යි 3යි 2022. 22. तर 22 කට continue කරොත් අපේ loan එක අයිත් තියෙන balance brought forward 2 million. तर මෙතන තියෙනවා balance brought forward 390,000. එතකොට effective interest rate එක දාලා interest expense එක ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒතර ඒක අපි තීරණය වෙන්නේ මේ 2 million වලට අනුව 2 million වලට අනුව අපි බැලුවොත් 9% 180 interest expense එක 190 වෙනවා 180 වෙනවා. දැන් ඒක අපි remeasure කරන්න ඕනේ 180 into 190. 31යි 3යි 2022 rate එක 190යි. ඒ rate එක දාලා විතර ගන්න. ඊට පස්සේ පුළුවන් වාට interest expense එක as usual අරගෙන යන්න මේ loan account එකකින් එන්නේ 34යි 200. ඊට පස්සේ ඔයාලට බලන්න පුළුවන් ඇත්තටම අපි කීයක් liable ද කියලා. second period එකේ අපේ interest එක විදිහට අපි pay කරන්න ඕනේ 360 million තියෙන්නේ වෙනසක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. second period එක පටන් ගන්නකොටත් මොකද effective interest rate සහ coupon rate සමානයි. ඒ නිසා outstanding amount එක වෙන්නේ 360,000යි local currency loan එකේ. එතකොට work out කරොත් rate එක 32,400. දැන් මොකද තත්ත්වේ? ඉන්ක කරලා තියෙනවා 34,200. අයත් අපිට compensation එකක් හම්බෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි 34,200ක් ඉන්ක කරා. නමුත් අපි ඉන්ක කරන්න ඕනේ as per the contract 32,400. එහෙනම් අපිට හම්බෙන compensation එක කීයද? 1,800 compensation. ඒ අනුව P&L එකට ආපහු සැරයක් යනවා 32,400. මෙතන අපි ගෙවන්න ඕනේ coupon එක. මෙතන cash coupon එක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක 180යි. ඒකට coupon එක tot cash අවසාන දවසේ ගෙවන්නේ 180යි 180 that is into 190. 34,200. ඒ ගානමනේ. කිසිම වෙනසක් නැහැ. එතකොට අපි accounting entries ටික පාස් කරොත් මුලින්ම පටන් ගත්තා interest expense එකෙන් මේක ටිකම ගන්න පුළුවන්. copy කරලා අරගන්නම්. අරගෙන mouse ටික adjust කරන්න. මුලින්ම interest expense එක උනේ second period එකේ 34,200යි. 34,200යි 34,200. නමුත් වැඩිමනක් ගෙවීමක් තිබුණ නිසා compensation එකක් හම්බුණා 1,800ක්. ඒක impact එකක් swap වල. 1,800ක compensation එකක් මේ period එකෙත් හම්බුණා. 1,800ක් 1,800. ඒක W limited අපිට දෙන්න ඕන. loan එක ඊට පස්සේ ගෙවුවා අපි coupon එක 34යි 200යි 34,200යි වෙනසක් නෑ. ඊට පස්සේ අපි එනවා remeasurement එක. remeasurement එක කරන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට තියෙනවා මෙතන 2 million තියෙනවා loan එකේ balance carried forward. අපි 2 million අරගෙන remeasure කරමු. කීයද? 190. එතන අපිට පේනවා 3.80ක් තියෙනවා. දැන් අපිට පේනවා debit the credit side is the greatest amount එක තියෙන credit side එකේ එනවා අපිට gain එකක් වගේ තියෙනවා. P&L එකට යන්න ඕනේ. remeasurement gains and losses අපි දන්නවා P&L යන්නේ. ඒතර මේ පාර අපිට අන්න gain එකක් තියෙනවා 10,000. right. දැන් remeasurement gain එක 10,000 ඒක අපි recognize කරනවා. So now we are looking for a remeasurement එක. එතකොට loan එක තමයි debit උනේ. loan is what got debit. loan got debit කීයද? 10,000. 10,000ක් loan එක debit වුණා. ඒක credit වුණා. කොහෙටද? P&L remeasurement එක අපිට මේ පාර ආවේ gain එකක්. so the P&L gets 10,000. ඊට පස්සේ අපි බලන්න ඕනේ දැන් swap contract එක. So what about that? 31st March 2021. අපි තාමත් වගකීමට බැඳෙන්නේ 2022. ගෙවන්න කීයද local currency loan එක. එහෙනම් local currency loan එකේ outstanding 360,000. So that is the agreement. As per the agreement, that's what we have to pay. What about the right? 2 million loan 190. So 380,000. So you can see that the cumulative gain එක අපිට තියෙනවා දැන් 20000යි. හැබැයි දැන්ටමත් gain එකක් අඳුනගෙන තියෙනවා කීයක්ද 30,000ක gain එකක් අඳුනගෙන තියෙනවා. ඒතර gain එක 30,000ක් අඳුනගත්ත නිසා අපි 20,000 cumulative gain එකට යන්න නම් මෙතන දැන් අපේ loss එකක් තියෙන්නේ කීයද 10,000. අපේ 10,000 loss එක අපි අඳුන ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒත් ඊළඟ period එකේ වුණ අපිට swap contract එකකින් ආවේ loss එක. Now it's other way around. It's the swap contract 10,000 and it's a loss on swap contract. Loss on swap contract. හරි. එතකොට අපි ඔන්න ඒකත් ගත්තා. දෙවෙනි අවුරුද්දෙත් ඔන්න accounting ඉවරයි. දැන් අපි එන අවසාන අවුරුද්ද, that's going to be the final year, that is on 31st March 2023. तर ඒකෙත් අර procedure එකම follow කරමු. ඊළඟ අවුරුද්ද පටන් ගන්නවා. balance brought forward තියෙන 2 million loan එක apply කරන effective interest rate 9%. It's going to be 180. So that is your interest expense. ඒක අපි local currency වලට convert කරගමු. As usual. If the local currency will convert කරගත්තොත් the balance brought forward, here we have 380,000. 380ක් තියෙනවා. ඒක අපේ interest expense එක, and it's 180 into what is the rate at this state, that was 210. 210. 37,800. It was cash. Sorry. So we need to take that interest expense. Credit entry එක තියමු. ඒක අපිට එනවා loan account එකේ 37,800යි. හැබැයි අපි ගෙවන්නේ ඉන්පුට් කරන්නේ local currency loan. So the local currency is 360. Once you apply the effective interest rate 9%, it's 32,400. Hence, so you are getting the compensation for the amount what you have incurred in excess. වැඩිපුර දරපු එකට ඔයාලට compensation එකක් තියෙන්න ඕන. So that is the effect of swap. Swap එකේ ඔයාලට තියෙන effect එක. So you are getting the compensation of 5,400. So therefore, eventually, the P&L is 32,400. This is the guy RCA. It was a given with the coupon maker. So it's always 2 million into 9%, 100. The method අවසානයේ අපි cash ගෙවලා loan එක settle කරනවා. මොකද කාලය අවසන්. तर මෙතන අපි ගමු coupon cash you pay 2 million into 200 දෙන්න. Into 9% into 37,800. तो रेट काफी काउंट कर लें as usual. So I can simply copy what I have taken earlier. So මේ interest එක අපි incur කරා කීයක්ද? So it was 37,800. මේ පාර 37,800ක් වුණා. 37,800. Compensation එක, as I can remember, we have received 5,400. 5,400ක් හම්බුණා. 5,400ක් හම්බුණා. 5,400. Then it's about the kind of coupon payment. So you had to pay 37,800. 37,800යි. 37,800. ඊට පස්සේ so you have taken that, then the remeasurement of loan. Then අපි ඒක remeasure කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒතර මෙතන remeasurement කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම settlement එකනේ. Eventual settlement එක. It's not a remeasurement. අපි eventual settlement එක 210 ගානේ සිද්ධ වෙන්න ඕනේ. කියන අපි cash ගෙවන්න ඕනේ 420ක්. ඒතර ඒ cash ගෙවීම තුල අපිට පේනවා යම් කිසි loss එකක් තියෙනවා. අපි ඒක loss එක work out කරගත්තොත් 457,800යි 457,800යි then අපිට පේන loss එක how much is the loss let's look at so that goes to PNL එකට යන්න ඕනේ 40000ක් තියෙනවානේ right loss එක 40000ක් තියෙනවා so it's a kind of a remeasurement loss as usual it's a kind of a remeasurement loss again this time it's a loss yeah so here it's PNL sorry so it's somewhere here no now things are getting right here it's PNL it need to get debit PNL should get debit how much 40,000 and its loan account should get credit how much 40,000 it was happy shop එකේ in the කලින් make settlement එක බලමු so you are going to settle that because that's the eventual thing එතකොට cash ගෙවුවා කීයක්ද 4.20 420,000 okay 420,000 is that here 420,000 you pay cash and you settle the loan hence the loan got debit loan එක එතකොට debit වුණා 420,000 on a foreign currency loan එකේ settlement එක right the settlement of loan එක settle කර ඊට පස්සේ so what about the forward contract so it's 31st March 2023 තාමත් අපි ගෙවන්න බැඳිලා ඉන්නේ 3,60,000යි හැබැයි 4,20,000ක් මේකේ වටිනාකම එන cumulative gain එක තියෙනවා 360යි 420යි 60,000ක් දැන් අපි හඳුර ගන්න ඕනේ යනුව what is that this cumulative gain 20 should become 6,000 so it's going to be 40,000 නේ අපි 40,000 gain එකක් හඳුනගත්තා නම් හරි right අපි gain එක 40,000ක් වෙනවා so this time it's a kind of a gain so it's the swap contract it's 40,000 gain and the gain on swap contract gain එකක් තිබ්බ right gain on remeasurement now you can see the swap contract come to the maturity so accordingly you can see that altogether 30,000 gain 10,000 loss 20 so it's 40 it's altogether 60,000 so the swap contract එකේ වටිනාකම 60,000යි එහෙනම් ඒ 60,000 අපි ඔන්න maturity එකේදී අපිට හම්බ වෙනවා 60,000ක් අපි credit කරනවා 60,000ක් swap asset swap contract එක මේ swap contract එක mature වුණා right so this is about the swap contract the maturity of the swap contract right එහෙනම් මේ විදිහට තමයි account සිද්ධ වෙන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට අපිට පේනවා අපි 4,20,000ක් ගෙවුවා loan එකට. හැබැයි effectively මොකක්ද සිද්ධ වුනේ? effectively අපි loan එක විදිහට ගෙවුවේ 3,60,000. එතකොට අපි account කරේ ඇත්තටම base කරගෙන US dollar currency loan එක base කරගෙන අපි accounting කරා true but eventually මොකක්ද වුනේ? අපි ඔක්කොම අපේ liabilities obligations ගියපු විදිහ බැලුවොත් අපි interest එක ගෙවුවේ ඇත්තටම effectively මේ පදනම් කරගෙන local currency එක පදනම් කරගත්ත loan එක. සහ අපි maturity එකේදී principal එක set off කරෙත් ඇත්තටම local currency එක පදනම් කරගෙන. So throughout the period අපේ exchange rate එකේ movement වලට අදාළව අපිට මේ swap contract එකකින් යම්කිසි recovery එකක් තිබ්බා අපේ loan අපි අඳුනගත්ත loss එක ඒවා set off වුණා සෑහෙන දුරකට. පළවෙනි period එකේ අපි දැක්කා remeasurement loss එක 30000යි ඒක set off වුණා gain එකකින් 30000කින්. ඒතකොට ඊළඟ period එකට ඇවිල්ලා බැලුවොත් අපි loss එක 10000යි ඒක එතනත් අපිට set off වුණා soft contract එකකින්. අවසාන period එකෙත් අපි දැක්කා loss එක 40ක් තිබ්බා ඒ loss එක recover වුණා soft වලින්. ඒතකොට effectively gains and losses මොකුත් P&L එකට hit උනේ නැහැ. අවසාන වශයෙන් සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ local currency based loan එකේ interest එක ගෙවලා ඒ වගේම maturity එකේදී ඒ amount එක තමයි settle කරලා තියෙන්නේ. So that is the swap accounting for a swap contract, right? So nothing was complicated. We applied the simple things. So we do the counting for a loan, the US loan. So the easiest way out was to take the US currency denominated loan, then simply converting that into the local currency. So ඒක තමයි පුතාලා අපි කරේ. Right. So if you have any question, yes, now you can get them clarified. Is that clear? So I believe that, I firmly believe that this may not be tested in case of your examination, right? The SOP may not be tested, but still I thought that it is better that you may be having some sort of understanding about how this works. So having that understanding, I just thought of working out a question with you. මේ වගේ දේවල් පුතාලා විභාගයේදී ටෙස්ට් කරන්න නැති වෙයි. අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මොකද අපිට කොච්චර time commitment එකක් තියෙනවද කියන එක පේනවා. නමුත් අපි knowledge purpose එකට මේ වගේ දෙයක් ඉගෙන ගත්තා SOP එකකට කොහොමද account කරන්න කියන එක. Right? Okay. Hope you are fine with that. Now let us look at the one last question that is based on the question what I have uploaded today. So you can take it. Take for the question up. Impairment of asset. Impairment of asset. Right. This is the question what I have uploaded. So can you all see that? You know the question here. The last question for the day. I hope you all can see. Yeah, it's the screen, no? Yeah. But still, yeah. So if you have any question on what we have discussed earlier, yes, still you have the time to raise that. Anything that you're not comfortable, I'm willing to further explain that. Okay, okay, seeing that you are fine with that or you are completely confused that, right? So these are the two ends. සම්පූර්ණ වෙඩි තේරුණා නැත්නම් වැඩි සම්පූර්ණ තේරුනේ නැහැ. ඔය දෙක නිසා තමයි ප්‍රශ්න නැති වෙන්නේ, right? Okay. So let us look at the one final question. On 1st of April 2019, the company purchased 10% 3-year rupees 2 million debentures of Expo Lanka PLC at a discounted price of rupees 1,903,926. Expo Lanka PLC again discounted price එකට ගත්තලු 10% debentures 2 million debentures discounted price එකට අරගෙන. The coupon rate is payable in arrears on 31st March. The effective interest rate of the investment 12% per annum. Effective interest rate it is held as part of the investment portfolio which is held up to maturity. So it is the default category measured at amortized cost. At the end of the current reporting period, information has emerged that the sector in which the issuer operates is experiencing tough economic condition due to the recently emerged corona outbreak. The issuer of the debenture is having some tough times due to the corona outbreak. It is now felt that a part of these debentures will default over the remaining loan period. මේ debentures වලින් කොටසක් default වෙයි කියන අවධානම තියෙනවා. Accordingly, the cash flows expected from the debentures were revised as follows. එතකොට ඔයා forecast කරලා තියෙනවා revised cash flows. එතකොට එතනදී ඔයා දැකලා තියෙනවා these are the expected cash flows. On 31st March 2021, 150,000. 31st March 2022, 1.8 million. And also you are given the discounting factors as well as the annuity factors at 10% and 12%. The requirement account for this investment in debentures as at 31st March 2020. එතකොට පළවෙනි අවුරුද්ද අවසානයේ මේ instrument එක සම්බන්ධයෙන් account කරන්න කියලා. Okay, so you can do that in no time. So just give it a try. So take 5 minutes and read the question and be much familiar with that. Question එක පොඩ්ඩක් පොඩි වෙලාවක් අරගෙන කියවන්න කියවලා ඒක familiar වෙන්න බලන්න. Okay, so hope you have become familiar with the question. So the facts you may be familiar. So let us just go and do the counting. So it's about the empowerment. This is something would be tested for sure. So in fact, I have taken this question from the last time past paper. So this was a question that was tested in the last time. So the paper question right? Okay, so let us look at that. It is pretty comparatively easy, right? It's about the empowerment, and you know the empowerment is applicable for the asset that is measured at the financial asset that is measured at amortized cost, which is measured at fair value through profit or loss, or fair value through other comprehensive income, then you know, so the impairment has already been incorporated in the fair value. So therefore, no impairment test. But here for the amortized cost instrument, yes, you have to test for the impairment. So this is your investment in debentures, right? Investment in debentures, and that's going to be 1,903,926 initially. That is the price at which you take this instrument. Cash 1,903,906. Set 1,903,926. Now C29, now CVC. So if it is the effective rate, interest rate is given, that is 12%. So you need to apply that. So that is your interest. Interest income maker in 12% value. So take the amount outstanding, apply the effective interest rate, and that's going to be 12%. 228,471. Okay. Then the coupon is 10%. You receive the cash in the first year of operation, and that's going to be 2 million into 10%. It's always the face value into the coupon rate. It's 2 million bond. Okay. Now you have come to this point, and when you come to this point, you get to know at the end of the reporting period, since the issuer is having some tough financial times, so you have forecasted what would be the future cash flows. So then your forecast comes. Now you are in 31st March 2020, or in the sense you are at 0.0, and when you forecast that in the year 1 year ahead, you are to receive on 31st March 2021. In fact, you are expected to receive only 150,000. So it's normally 200,000, but since having some tough times, you may not expect to receive the whole thing. Then also at the maturity, you are not expected to recover the entire thing, and this is all what it is expected to receive. Now you need to discount this and get the value, and that is the remeasurement of the investment in debenture. So when you are going to take this, remember, when it comes to discounting, always apply the effective interest rate. In this question, no any other interest rate is given, but sometimes you can give information as saying the market interest rate or something, right? The market interest rate can also be given, but remember, in case of impairment, you are not supposed to take the market interest rate. It's always the effective interest rate. So remember to apply the effective interest rate. Right. It's effective interest rate always. So it's 150,000. You can take the discounting factor. In 1 year's time, it's 0.892. 0.892. Is that 0.893? No? 893. Then in the 2 years time, it's 0.797. 0.797. Okay. So now you can apply this and get the values. 150,000 into this. It's 133,950, and this is this much. And if you get these values over here on 31st March 2020, the balance carried forward is this much, 1,568,550. Now, if you do balance this account, you can see which side is the greatest. So it's the debit side is the greatest. Debit side is the greatest. And here you can see that the impairment loss. So you can either take that to the impairment loss account, or you can take that you can either keep it in this account itself, or you can treat it in separately. But here first, let me take that to the impairment loss account. Impairment loss account. So now we have figured out the impairment loss, how much it is. You can see the impairment loss is 363,847. So in this case, so if you create an impairment loss account, comes from the investment debentures. It comes from investment in debentures, 363,847. So charge this to P&L, 363,847. So this is what you charge to the P&L. So that is your impairment loss. So you can see that the loss is somewhat huge. Loss is somewhat huge. But why is that? Because here you have applied the lifetime credit loss method. So because the financial risk was significant, if the risk is significant, it is advised that to go for the lifetime model. So you need to consider about the cash flows throughout the remaining life. So hence we consider the cash flows throughout the remaining life, and you do the discounting and you take it. So thereby you have considered here the lifetime impairment loss, rather than just taking the immediate reporting period, immediate next reporting period. So here you have considered the lifetime credit risk model, right? So this is one way of accounting that. Or otherwise, what you can do is when you come to accounting for this, तर මේක පුතාලා එක විදිහක් නැත්නම් ඔයාලට පුළුවන් තව විදිහකට මේක count කරන්න. ඒකත් වැරදි නෑ ඇත්තටම. So how you could have done, but ඕකම account කරන්න තිබ්බා investment account එකේ අර usually අපි ගන්නවා cash investment එක interest income එක ගන්න කරනවා, ඊට පස්සේ cash receipt එක. ඊට පස්සේ මොකොත් impairment එක ගැන අපි consider කරන්නේ balance carried forward ගන්නවා. balance carried forward අරගන්නකොට එතකොට අපිට පේනවා credit debit side is the greatest. සාවන්න balance carried forward. එතකොට 1,932,397 තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි impairment loss එක වෙනම account කරනවා. Right? You can account for the impairment loss separately. For that, you need to have a accumulated impairment loss account. That is a impairment loss account එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම accumulated impairment loss account එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. හරියට ඔයාලා first year එකේදී අර impairment loss කරේ නිකන් normal assets වලට ඒ විදිහටම. but impairment loss එක අපිට work out කරගන්න වෙනවා. ඒකට අපි future cash flows forecast කරලා මේ amount එක establish කරගන්නවා. right? ඊට පස්සේ අපි compare කරනවා carrying amount එකත් එක්ක. So this is the carrying amount 1,932,397. එතකොට on value recoverable amount එක. What is the recoverable amount? Recoverable amount was found to be 1,568,550. එතකොට මේ දෙක අතර වෙනස තමයි අපි කියන්නේ impairment loss එක කියන්නේ. එතකොට අර විදියමයි 363යි 847 debit කරනවා impairment loss, credit කරනවා accumulated impairment loss. ඒක ආවේ කොහෙන්ද? impairment loss එක. ඒක credit කරනවා 363,847. तर මේක P&L දාන්න 363,847. Take that. This is balance carried forward. 363,847. So to make when you are showing that in the statement of financial question, you take this investment in debenture, this value, and then you deduct the accumulated impairment, and then you show the amount, what it comes over here exactly. So the amount එකම තමයි අපි net off කරලා පෙන්නන්නේ. So මෙතන කිසිම වෙනසක් නැහැ. මේ methods දෙකම equally applicable. හැබැයි පුතාලා මේ second method එකේ පොඩි risk එකක් තියෙනවා. මොකක්ද? ඔයාලා ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දට ගිහිල්ලා මේ instrument එක account කරන්න ගියොත් දැන් මෙතන balance brought forward වෙන්නේ 1,932,397. ඒතකොට ඔයාලා effective interest rate එක මේ amount එකට apply කරොත් ඒක වැරදි. ඒතකොට effective interest rate එක ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දේ apply කරනකොට interest income එක හොයාගන්න අපි consider කරන්න ඕනේ මොකක්ද? මේ accumulated impairment එක ඉවත් කරාට පස්සේ එන ඒ recoverable amount එක base කරලා තමයි interest income එක ගන්න ඕනේ. හැබැයි මේ method එකේ එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. අපි ඒ තියෙන්නේ ඒ නිවැරදි අගයටම recoverable amount එකට equal වෙච්ච carrying amount එක. ඒ අනුව අපි මේ method එකේදී interest income එක work out කරද්දී ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි මෙතනදී if you are to work out the interest income for the next period, you need to be little conscious. ඒතර ඒක circular ගන්න ඕනේ fact එක. But other than that, both the methods are equally applicable. So this is how we account for the impairment. මේ විදිහට අපි එහෙනම් impairment එකට account කරන්න. Okay, then that's it from my end. So if you have any question to get clarified, yes, you can ask. And also I have created a link to upload your what do you call that, the progress of your assignment. So that has been created. So you have time till the 12th. So it's nearly 4 hours time. So you can upload them. And also, so as we have told you well in advance, so those who are attending the tutorials are getting eligible for the what do you call that, the quizzes to be attempted. Hence, for today also we have planned a quiz, and so I'll be opening up that quiz after some time. So now it's 10 minutes past 8. So you need to have some time to take your dinner and also the other stuff. So then let me allow you, say, 50 minutes time. Yeah, let me allow you 50 minutes time to get the things done. And you can start attempting your quiz at 9. So you need to start your quiz at 9. Then you'll be getting 1 hour's time to upload that. So by 10 p.m. so the quiz would be over. So therefore you need to start attempting the quiz if you are to take the entire time by 9. තරුතාලා දැන් අපි ක්ලාස් එක මෙතන නවත්තනවා. ඒතර ඔයාලා බ්‍රේක් එකක් ගන්න, ඔයාලගේ දින එක ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ ටික අරගෙන සෙටල් වෙන්න මම හිතන විනාඩි 50ක් ඇති වෙයි. ඒතකොට ඒ ටික සෙටල් වෙලා ඔයාලා 9ට quiz එක ගන්න. financial instrument base කරපු quiz එක final one. ඒක active වෙනවා 9ට. ඒතකොට 10ට මම මේක close කරනවා. ඒ නිසා පැයක් තියෙනවා. ඒ පැය අරගෙන ඒක කරලා upload කරන්න, and that is only for those who have attempted the tutorial. So you did the hard work, so therefore you must get the reward. Hence, so we are plan the things as such. So have a break and let's do the tutorial. So do the quiz, right? There's only the group leader has to, yes, only one person need to upload that. So it is the group leader. Group leader need to upload the progress report. Right, okay then, thank you. I'm pleased with your attendance. We have around 90 participants at one time. I saw that. So it's a good moment. And also I believe that we deliver the value for money. So you get the value, I believe. So apply that in your quiz and make it to the best. So with that note, thank you very much. Good night.